Hey guys, welcome to another video via Twitch. That's right, what you're seeing now is currently live from Twitch and is been bought out to your screens in YouTube. So yeah, here we go. So guys, what is up? So today we're going to be playing. I've made a category YT. Well, I should be Twitch, but all of this we'll be playing. This I'll be making not documenting, video about. And yeah, I don't know why I'm still watching XQC. It's so weird. Anyways, let's start by playing Seedling Simulator. How about that? Seedling Simulator. Much better. Alright, I'll talk about the Miguel TV branding and like the the other stuff I'm going to be talking about in the YouTuber Rumbles live part of this stream. So yeah, here we go. Jesus. Continue. Thank you. Sea Cleaning Simulator. This game looks like a mobile game, even though it's a Roblox. I played this game a bit and I am lagging. Is my encoding overloaded? Yes, it is. Classic Miguels streams. Well, time to get cleaning. So, this game was made by the ones, was it? Team C, yeah, Terrorbrand Games. They made this game. They're also ones who made the RB bottles, which is nice. So yeah. I don't know why my game is laggy. It's literally a Roblox game. It's CSGO, yes, it's reasonable why it's lagging when I'm streaming, but like Roblox is lagging because I'm streaming. Hello? There, how about that? That better? Apparently not, because my FPS is still quite low. Around 30. Oh, look at that lag. What is wrong with And the trash monster talks again. How many money do I have? I wanna buy a new boat. Literally. So, here, I am a Coke person. I know, I am sorry, Pepsi fans, but it's just that Coke is in the majority, I guess. Coke is better than Pepsi. Unfortunate. Okay, here goes full. I'm still lagging, which is bad, I guess. To the trash monster. Eat it. Eat. Eat! No, I can do more, you idiot. I can do better. I need a new boat. What is the brands? So we got Coke and Pepsi, we got some water bottles. What's that? What does that say? Is there some sort of like mute music? Yes, there is. Okay. Sound effects only. What brand is this? Cookie O's. Too big. Yeah, these Coke bottles and cereal boxes, they're definitely too big. I don't know why a human person would drink that. Unless they're fat, then plays games all day. Sounds familiar, right?
Just because I talk trash doesn't mean I am trash. Oh wait.
Yeah, you're trash. Literal trash. You're a trash monster. That's why your name is Trash Monster. You look like trash, Mr. Trash Monster. How much is it? I should donate to Mr. V's Team Seas. Like, I've never donated a single charity in my whole life. Unless stuff for a cousin is included. Yeah.
Why is the ocean gotta be so salty? I don't know what a bubble is.
I also don't know why the ocean is salty. I have no idea. Maybe it's because from these cans full of trash, bro. I think 800 is the new Coke, so let's go get 800. 154. Top 4 costs. I won't sponsor them anymore. You are in the reality. I'm not really a sponsor of Top 4 costs. I just send referral links and that's all. I guess that's counted as sponsoring, but like they didn't pay me or anything.
Is that the best you can do?
You know, this game makes me feel like it's alive. What's top of the leaderboard? 1 billion! Jeez! Yep, saved millions of lives, people! Even though it's just a game. Imagine if actually that happens in real life. 1 billion trash is removed from the ocean. I feel like there would be more trash than just 1 billion. I feel like 3 to 4 billion trash. That's what I'm thinking. Nice. Grab the Pepsi so that I could kill it. Sus. Alright, I need to be strength 13. I'm almost there. No, I don't care. I forgot this is a Roblox game. And there goes the new trash. The game is still laggy. Great, now the water looks trash all of a sudden. Okay.
I greeted the sea earlier. I said hi and they waved.
Shut up! Alright. Naruto. Shugere! Oh wait, that's Demon Slayer. Oops, wrong anime reference. Here you go. Hello, Mr. Robot.
This whole Team C's thing is really making waves, huh?
Yep, here we go. Like Savor. Savor. Shugere, shugere. So 20? Let's see. This is a bigger boat. Definitely. Actually. Alright, so now I have a bigger boat. That's good. I wanna level this boat up. I'll go with the cereal. Cereal apparently makes up of 5 garbage cans. Oh, it's full. Oh.
This is some garbage collection. Like actual garbage.
You are actual garbage. Did you realize that, Mr. Garbage Man? Is Chu watching? Oh. Seriously. I'm playing Roblox here, damn it. I don't think he knows that I'm streaming. If he does, then... Hi, Chu. I know you're watching. I know you're watching the stream. You're watching the stream, aren't you? Oh. I sent it on Discord. Okay, hold on. I think Chu sent something bad again. Hold on, guys. What is it? Okay, guys, I need to show you this. Vakban anniversary. You spelled anniversary. Pretend I never said that. Wrong. There you go. Definitely did not cheat. You have nothing. Stop trying to scam me! Whee! Save the oceans! Oh, can I have pet? I knew. No! I don't get it.
I've been eating trash from the ocean for years, so this is how it repays me? Why is the ocean gotta be so salty?
No. I don't get why. Just play the goddamn game to just get pets. You know, it won't take a while until you get a pet, right? Why won't you just fucking play the game instead of begging for people to literally give me an egg, please? Because I'm new to this game and I'm lazy. Fuck you. Seriously. Seriously, just play the game. Why are you so lazy, bro? Brother. Go play the game to get pet. I'm going to be toxic because it's meaningful. And they're being lazy, okay? Shut up, YouTube. I can see the comments rolling down. That's not good.
Environmentalist.
Yes. Environmentalist. I'm pretty sure I pronounced that wrong. Wait. I wanna unlock this. 30. I have one. Okay, they just ignore my notice. Noobs these days don't know what they're talking about. I don't know what. That's me. I'll buy my next boat over there when I unlock that area. 13.
Is that the best you can do?
No. Earned it. Not big. No, fuck you. I don't care if I'm talking to a fucking 13-year-old. I'm also 13. Okay. Oh, come on! 12.4. Hey, there. This might take a while, so if you're watching on YouTube, this might be probably already time-lapse, so yeah. And if you're on Twitch, well, good luck on staying on chat. Lamau. 3 a.m. 3 a.m. What? You said it. You're full. Let's play Bed Wars. All these people, just play the real Bed Wars. Just kidding. Play whatever. I shouldn't be mean to these people, you know, they have their own games, they don't have their own standards. If someone were to come to me and say, why are you playing this game? You should not play this game, you should play other games like mine. Yeah, I get it, but like, Bed Wars? They're so very, very, very noob, okay? I'm not saying because, I'm not being mean here, I'm just saying that they're very noob stereotype because they play Bed Wars, they have bacon hair costumes. Or even the guest costume, whatever costume they have. We got Roblox. But yeah. Buying clothes from the catalog. 12.4, 13. After we reach that, we'll go to the next Roblox game. I don't think it will be done. I have 200. Okay, we could upgrade. Let's go. There you go. 12.8, close. So I think one more of roaming around collecting trash will make it. So you just have to wait a little bit longer, YouTube. If you're even watching this from YouTube, if you're watching from Twitch, if you're currently we're live, yeah, it's going to be pain just watching me grind all this shit. Garbage, sorry. Shit. Well, too late. I could technically relate the VOD, but who cares? My screen is starting to get orangey. Nightlight is coming on. Let's go. Okay, I need to clean all of this. Okay. I also want to clean all of this in like under the time until next week. I want to do that. Alright, so let's go. Come on, faster!
This is some garbage collection. Like, actually garbage.
Let's go collect the trash. Team C's, people, donate now! Or else you'll be dead by summer! If Mr. Beast were evil. I like avocado gaming. Well, not gaming, animations. Their animations are fun. Evil Mr. Beast. PewDiePie losing his leg. What's the worst that could happen? Dream losing his server? Okay, that's not funny actually. Look like this pile of water bottles that is actually human sized. I don't think we'll make to 100% soon. But I'm trying my best to reach at least 70%. Alright, almost done. Come on, mate. Why did I not do it? Okay, are they respawning? Okay, full. Okay. Chill game. I know it's full. You don't have to tell me.
Recycle trash and earn some cash.
Alright, one more. Hey, vamos! Vamos! Not enough, it's not enough! 80% of the oceans have been cleaned, and we only have 30 seconds. Oh. Come on! 17 seconds, 16 seconds. Oh no. Oh, we're too late. We can't reach 100%. No! No! And we're too late. Ah, okay. So I get 1,000 coins for 75% of the ocean's clean. That's cool. Okay.
Is that the best you can do?
You know, I just earned $1,000, bitch. Sorry. Hey, let's go. How much is that? I wanna hatch an egg. Give me a minute. How much is this? 240? Let's hatch 2. Why not? Nice. One more. Hello, one more. Please, one more. same bird. Yeah, why not? Let's go on the phone. Let's waste all of our money. Yeah, we're dead. Definitely dead. And that guy is Jesus because he's floating on water. I almost float like Jesus. Okay, time to unlock this area. Yes. Oh, I need to unlock equip best, which is all 21. There we go. I hate this timer. Why is it still here? Shut up. Okay. Okay, there. I don't know why. I've always been trying to find. It's OBS. It's somewhere in OBS. I've been trying to find that media source for a long time now. I can't. It always happens at like apparently 25 minutes into the recording or something. Don't know. Okay, time to unlock this area. Woo! Oh wow, it's raining. Oh wow, what happened here? Oh god, the Starbucks coffee bottle! What it goes the newspapers! Hey! Still people still... Old people read newspapers. Weird. Hey! So these are two cans that I need to collect. They're... What are they? They're actually Coca-Cola and Pepsi cans. Well, those are cans. These are bottles, technically. So yeah. I'm just gonna finish. I'm just gonna 278 this. Come on. Come on. Pop up. There you go. Then where's the trash monster? Hello. You're the new trash monster, I see.
What are you doing? Are you sure that's all you got?
Yes, because I'm now leaving the game, and that is the end for Sea Cleaning Simulator. Hello, Chu. You are watching this, Chu. Okay. No. What is up? Okay.
What?
I'm playing this late. Help me. Yeah, I want to do that. Arsenal.
That is Discord. Okay, this is getting confusing. I have to. Okay, what's up?
The stream or something.
I did.
Okay, good.
Did you see my new MLG video?
I forgot to look at it. Oh, this one. Wait, no, this one. Roblox MLG LOL. Yes, I'm bringing it back. It's my favorite VOD. Oh no. Not the MLG.
Wait, hold on. Pause. And what second are you at?
What?
Pause. Pause.
Yeah, I've already posted.
Alright, what second are you at?
0.15.
Okay.
15 seconds.
0. 15 seconds. Okay, on pause in 3, 2, 1. Oh, what the fuck? This is the worst editing ever, but I thought it was funny.
Playing MF2?
MM2 Roblox MLG. I mean, it was a pretty good shot.
You see? There it goes.
I can't hear it.
It wasn't even a 360 no scope. Well, there was a rover, but it wasn't even a 360. 360 was the important part of MLG.
That was funny.
I know.
That was funny.
I'm playing Arsenal right now.
Oh, I'm gonna hit some clips, Holmes.
Okay. I'm recording, so I'm streaming, but I'm going to be using this as a YouTube video, basically. So
Okay.
it's a game night, and it's going to be put on YouTube. So say hello to YouTube, I guess. I don't know.
Bro, I need 100 subs.
Say, oh wait, I already have 100 subs. Haha.
I need 100 subs to get freaking
Concussion
state
Mania or
media
what?
so I can post stuff and other videos.
What? I forgot how to play Arsenal. Oh wait, I remember
Bozo.
how to play Arsenal now. How do you destroy this glass? How are you
Okay,
alive?
guys.
How are you alive? How
Shit.
to die? Wow, we both died at the same time. Oh man.
Nice.
Who's that? I saw that. Who are you?
Okay, guys.
Wait, no, that's not it.
I'm gonna hit some 360 no scopes. What team are you on,
Which will
Red?
never
Okay.
No. I wait, red. I'm red team, by the way. Are you? Did you join blue?
No, I joined red and I just got killed.
What the?
Oh, my Roblox audio is down really far. This is bad.
OBS and
'Cause I
coding
might get
sucks.
Oh, she! I'm the firepower man. Get. I'm the firepower man. Dies.
Wow, nice aim, bro. Nice aim, bro. 5 kills.
Nice aim,
nice,
bro.
Nice aim, bro. Why do I have a guitar? How is this a weapon? Hello? Oh my god,
Nice
the
aim, bro.
guitar,
I'm talking
the
to
guitar is a weapon!
Oh my god! Can you? These people have guns. I have a book and a ball of fire.
A book with a ball of fire!
I have legitimate fire. This is technical. This is actually like. It's firepower technically, but like way worse than theirs. Cause like it's like I'm shooting a hand cannon, except way worse.
I have so many. This game has.
Bro, I'm so bad, dude. Come on.
It's so easy
I mean,
to hit.
wait, did
It's so
did I
easy to
say-
hit this game. Oh my god, I suck at this game. Thank you for killing that guy. Why
Dude,
do
I
have
need to get rid of this stupid book, man.
Rick! Oh my god, I did
Oh,
not hit, I did it! Oh, 360 no scope! What the
What?
fuck is happening?
Kill me. He has the stupid book. The only reason I have 2 kills is because randomizer sucks.
This is standard, by the way.
Standard, yeah. The randomizer standard is so bad because you can just literally get stuck on weapons
I know.
that nobody wanted.
If you don't
Like
kill,
hush
kill them.
puppies. Oh, I have 2
Woo,
kills.
sheesh.
I'm not doing very
Double
good.
kill when you died. Oh my top 3. Oh, and I'm stuck.
Oh
on
my
the,
god, you're
the
Rex
door
kid.
is stuck. I repeat, the
Wait,
door.
this is
Wow,
standard?
This game sucks. Yes, this is. This
I
door
c-
sucks.
okay, I can. I
I
thought it was
meant
like a
the
fire
door
mode
stuck.
because I got most of the fire.
That door is stuck. I repeat, the door is fucking stuck. What the fuck is
Stepper,
going on?
help me! I'm stuck.
Wow, I suck. Wow, I suck.
Wait, you can boost into the air with a
Concussion. You can get concussion.
guitar.
Yeah, I didn't remember getting that picture. Oh my god, I suck.
Oh my god, how did I just get shot?
Shove it.
I have no fucking idea. I have no way of seeing.
Dude, no, I should have hit a 360 no scope, bro. Boom.
Wow. Nigev, I got Nigev.
Wait a minute.
Did I get Nigev? No, I got. Yes, I did get the Nigev.
I have a concussion. This is literally the best gun I can use. I am so goated with these things. I am literally a bird when I get this thing.
Golden knife. Oh fuck, that guy got golden knife. Rip me. Rip my score, I guess. I don't know. Okay.
Oh my gosh, I have 7 kills. I'm so mad. Dude, it's because I got stuck on that stupid dumb
I
book.
got third. Let's go. Third place, idiots. Might
We're a
not be
bunch of
first,
idiots.
But it's okay. Pistols only. 2 teams.
GG. I have rainbow text. You don't.
Because you're VIP? Wow, you paid this game just to be VIP. Lamang.
I got bored, so I had
Wasted Robux. Robux. Oh. Oh my God.
Robux. Red, let me join Red. Red,
I'm
yes.
behind you! Why is it 4-team deathmatch? I hate 4-team deathmatch.
4TD? Oh, God. Get out of here, kid. You're trash. Let's go. We killed him.
Toxic. You're so fucking toxic, you.
I know. I know. I played a lot of Fortnite back in my day.
I have so high sensitivity.
Bro, Fortnite kids are really toxic, so I just got toxic with them.
Nice. Everyone is toxic in this game.
I just say what they say. I'm like, get the fuck out, kid. You're so trash.
Oh, that's not very
GTFO,
nice.
kid. You're so trash. I know. Oh my god, these kids get kills and then we kill them.
Oh my god,
It's
1
funny.
HP!
Get out of here,
Then
kid.
died!
Fucking trash. Oh my god. I'm on 7 7
How am I top?
7 HP. Uh-huh.
Please tell me why I'm on top.
No, don't come.
I hate when people spawn and they still have the spawn bubble.
I know. That's so you can't spawn camp though.
Well, that's fucked up.
I know,
He
because it's on
camper.
streak 2. How am I on only streak at 2? Huh.
Heartless gaming, why are you heartless? I'll never, never, never leave me behind.
Dude, I just spawned. Oh no. Here goes this people spawn camping streak. I'll spawn in and then like instantly I'll just get shot.
1 HP? Hello? This game broken like CSGO?
One.
No, it's not.
Oh my god, I'm
Critical
playing.
damage, says Arthur.
I'm playing tag with this kid. Holy crap. I'm trying to get a kill streak. Please let me game. No. Okay. Sorry. Sorry for bugging you.
You're top.
Get. Oh my god, they're just campers. I hate range.
I fucking hate
I hate-
campers.
Dude, I hate ranged explosives. Like where like you shoot. It's good when like you're using them, but when someone uses them against you, I hate them. Ranged explosives are like you shoot a rocket launcher. It's like a few meters off from somebody, they still blow up. Right. Oh my god, who's messaging me on Discord?
I have no idea. Maybe penguin? Question mark? Is it you,
God damn it.
Hello?
Yes, it is Mr. Penguin.
Camper! I told you they're camping! You pieces of shit. Yeah, Nick.
His new nickname is Mr. Dino.
Who's Mr. Oh, dinosaur. Yeah, I can see that.
Why do I keep dying?
Nice recoil, Arsenal. Nice recoil, you piece of shit.
Nice recoil? I can't feel that unless I'm on controller.
Oh, it's running, gunning. I'm golden gun. Golden gun.
Dude,
Oh.
get out of my face.
It's not golden gun yet. God damn it. That's someone has golden gun.
Oh my gosh. Stop, dude. Stop camp.
Let's fucking go, bro. GG. That's the game works. Just cap, bitches. Welcome to Call of Duty to CSGO. Oh, shit.
I'm a COD player. I'm not used to this happening.
You're a god player, even though people camp at Call of Duty. Oh, no.
I mean, people do camp in COD, but not as often. If they do camp in COD, they have like a bigger. Oh, you went blue.
Yeah, I don't want to play anymore. This sucks.
Okay.
I got my
bye-bye.
win. No. Okay, just leave the game. Don't leave Discord. Okay.
Okay.
What's the next game I want to play? You got me.
Just kidding. I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding.
You got me there. You got me there. Bro. What is this? Why did I choose this? What is this? Fruit Juice Tycoon. Refresh. Why am I playing Fruit Juice Tycoon? Why not? Who cares?
Don't.
Yes. Let's go.
Why are you playing fruit juice?
I have no idea, but I'm playing it anyways. Welcome to Fruit Juice Tycoon, my friends. I have no idea what I'm getting into. It says it's a game from 2010, so it should be good as well.
Wait, it's from 2010?
Yes.
What?
It looks like it says here. Let me see. Hop in
No,
and
it says.
replay a 2010 classic with this improved remake. This fan-made refresh version brings the game closer
How am I gonna hit some? How am I gonna hit some MLG clips in Fruit Juice Tycoon? What team am I? That's Super Mario Bros. Okay.
Super Mario Brothers?
Oh wait, I can't say that on stream. Now I'm gonna get copyright claimed.
So you get the oranges, I think. I think that's how it works. Juicinator 3000.
Do you have to do the obby? Oh my god, this is an obby game. I don't like it already.
What you mean?
What? No.
How do you play this game? Someone
I don't know. I think you have to do the obby.
What obby? There's an obby? Where? I can't pick up the oranges. What do I do? Hello?
I had tools.
Oh, pick fruit. Oh, fuck. I am blind. There's a pick fruit tool. Okay. Apparently, it doesn't want you to use your body.
There's an obby and it takes your. I don't want my tools. Whatever.
Yeah, okay.
Wait, I don't have a pick fruit button.
Make juice.
Juice.
So that's how you make
Juicy.
I see.
I should get every single person who follows me on Twitch
Let's go.
to follow you on Twitch.
What? Oh, hold on. Sure, I'll be right back.
Okay. How do you play this?
Okay, sorry. What was it you were talking about?
I should get my Twitch chat to follow you. Like all of my Twitch followers to follow you.
Uh-huh. I don't know how that will happen, but okay. I'm just gonna camp you.
I can't pick the fruit. I want my pick fruit back.
Did the two pick fruit disappear from your inventory?
Yeah.
Oh, rip.
Here it is.
I have no idea why this game exists. And why does
This game
it
is
exist?
fun.
It existed in 2010. People was a bit happy. Huh?
People were happy in 2010.
Where they were playing tycoon games apparently. And obbies. Classic obbies. Alright.
This is so easy.
I know.
I'm just sitting here.
And just camping.
I'm just gonna insert fruit. Sounds a bit sussy wussy.
$10,000 for auto collector. Boo. Have you ate an orange before? Chu?
Yeah, I like oranges.
Nice. How about apples?
Apples, I like apple flavoring, but I don't know, man. I don't really like apples.
Well, apples is apple.
They taste different from the way they did before. I don't know why.
I don't know either. The last time I tasted an apple was what? I forgot. My birthday. My birthday. That was the last time.
Why did you taste an apple on your birthday?
I have no idea. I think I remember. The gift was an apple.
Oh my
Your
god.
birthday gift was an apple. How amazing is that?
That must have been how disappointing. Oh god. Okay, so what?
So don't confuse. Okay. Yeah, you're right. This might be easier than you thought. Sorry.
What's that? I just. Oh, my headset's broken.
So you can't hear me right now.
I can hear you, yeah.
Damn
But whenever nothing's like playing, it'll like buzz.
It makes a buzz.
Yeah, I like that.
No,
It's like
come on.
bzzz, 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 bzzz,
Okay, shut up, Chu. Okay.
bzzz.
You know, this game should be called Orange Collecting Tycoon. Orange Collecting Tycoon. Oh my god, amazing.
Yeah. Well, I feel like nobody would play it. Wait, did my game just crash? No, okay.
No, you're still in the server, anyways.
I'm out of storage on my C drive, aren't I?
Nice.
Yeah.
50.
199 megabytes free of 930 gigabytes.
The Juicinator 3000. I like the name, bro.
Dude, it's so annoying.
What?
The fucking noise.
The buzz.
Yeah, it's getting really annoying.
I found a cheat code. You can zoom away your camera and then press make juice near the juicinator. So you don't have to walk back and forth. Oh, for a second. So,
Okay, well,
are you bored? We could move
no, I'm
on
trying to
the-
find a song.
Okay. Because if you're bored, I can change the Roblox game. We can stop playing Orange. What is this name? This
Yeah,
name
I'm
again?
actually not bored. That's
Fruit-
funny.
Fruit Juice Tycoon. How amazing. We make fruits, you idiot!
Well.
So this is the upgrade. What's the upgrade? What's the upgrade? I don't know. What's the upgrade? I should be standing here. That's a lot of oranges. Says Texans. This is gonna take a long time.
I'm about to get you copyright claimed.
No.
Way to.
I don't wanna fight this. You wanna just make me want you. What do you mean? I don't care. I love this song. You wanna just make me want you, baby. I just love this song. How many cash do I have? Okay, that should be enough. You just spam E and then try to collect all of the fruits. Easy way. How many money do I have up there? 100. Okay, that's good enough. Apple tree. Oh wait, this isn't just. Oh, it's fruit. Sorry, it's not orange tycoon. It's fruit juice tycoon. So now we're getting into apple.
This totally isn't an ad for Coinbase. the whole Charlie Puth music video? Totally not.
Coinbase. What a scam. It's a scam. Definitely a scam. How much is the next upgrade? Also 100. Good enough. What else can I upgrade? 150. A second apple tree. Got it. So you get 2 trees per each fruit. Interesting. So spam E to pay respect. Oh, that's F. Press F to pay respect. Yes. I am spamming my E key. This is getting so boring. Oh, so do I get this? I'll upgrade. Upgrade. There we go. I should be standing here. I just watched the Doctor Strange movie. Doctor Strange. Doctor Strange.
Shockter Dange. Okay, let's see how many orange I have. I was gonna wait until the whole thing got full, but
I don't think we'll get
whatever. How many oranges do I have? 28.
How many apples do I have? Only one.
Apple?
Yeah, you know
This is Orange Juice Simulator.
No, you forgot the name. It was Fruit Juice Simulator. You've been what is that effect called? What is the Mandela effect? You just got
Bamboozled.
effect. Bamboozled effect.
No, it's not called the goddamn.
Well, I was just
Oh
joking.
shit! Oh shit! Oh shit! Oh shit!
I've been spamming E for so long.
Oh shit! Oh shit! Oh shit! Oh shit! Oh shit!
Can you stop saying that? I'm gonna get demonetized. Just kidding.
You can't. You're not making any money, so it doesn't matter.
I'm joking. Let me hear my
You gotta
sarcasm.
at least get affiliate. You
Let
gotta
me
at least
hear
get
my
affiliate.
sarcasm. Please, thank you. Thank you. Okay, I can actually make money now. Okay, I am done. I don't want to play this game anymore. It's too boring. Leave. Boom. Next game. Most of the games I picked are tycoon games. Why did I think that tycoon games are good?
I'm not playing Shopping Tycoon.
How about Gun Factory? Oh,
No!
no.
Oh my
Let's
god.
bomb the 9/11.
Let's play Rift Royale.
Rift Royale. Okay, we're playing Fortnite basically, but in Roblox.
Yeah, no.
This was made by easy.gg. Oh fuck. Oh fuck. I can't believe you've done this.
Yeah, we can play Fortnite.
This is made by the same creators of this clown game and this game where every noob plays. Great.
Oh, Bed Wars?
Every noob plays. That's what I'm just saying. If you were just in the stream like a few minutes, you've heard me talking about the noobs, you know, playing Bed Wars. Me rambling about Bed Wars. Nope, I'm not playing that shit game. Alright, let's go play Rift Royale.
Can I be mod on your stream?
What are you going to be doing with the mod?
Well, I don't know. I'm reliable.
Are you sure about that? Says John Cena. Are you sure about that? Yes, sir.
Just wait.
Okay. How do I do that? I forgot how. Oh, set that.
Yeah, I think it's slash set mod or something. I'm not sure.
Slash set. Oh, here you go. Slow, restrict, grade, and monitor. Mod. Here you go. Mod username Chu is epic. There.
It's Chu so epic. Yay!
You're mod now? Okay, nice. I just don't get it, bro. Ever since I got...
Flashbang.
I fucked...
Miguel. Okay, I'm kidding.
Nope, nope, you're not kidding.
Check your chat. I'm kidding. It was funny. See? No, it was a joke.
Sorry.
Wait, you just almost unmodded yourself.
I know, I almost don't monitor, so it wouldn't happen anyways. Here, Chu. I hate
Why do I
these...
keep getting party invites?
I know, right? Here, create party, and then where's your name? Here you go, choose.
Wait, is this Fortnite? Is this Fortnite or is this... It's Bed Wars, isn't it?
No, this is Battle Royale. It just looks like the...
It is?
It just looks like the lobby from Bed Wars, okay?
Oh, okay, because I haven't really played this game yet. Let's play doubles, okay?
Okay, fine.
Doubles? Can we play doubles? Yay. Yay.
See,
I don't know.
they use the same queue, they use the same assets, just like in Bed Wars.
Yeah.
I hate EC.GG so much. Like, before I hated them, I was a fan of Islands. I played Islands. I don't know,
Wait, I need to start recording on OBS.
Okay.
But I need to make the recording place different. I'll record it on my fucking USB drive
While
that
you
has 100
while you
gigabytes, right?
set up your OBS and talk about other things, I'm going to be talking my story.
I don't fucking care about your story. I'm sorry.
I fucking hate you. I don't know why I checked for you. For me, I've been listening to your story every time you talk about something in Discord, and while I say my story, you don't even fucking care. How amazing!
Yes.
Is that? Huh?
Yes.
Penguin would be doing the same for me. Penguin wouldn't care about what I'm saying. I hate friends.
I'm kidding. I'm kidding, man. I'm just joking. Anyways, what's your story? Tell me or you're gonna die.
No, I'm talking about Islands. The game I hated the most. Yes. It's like making your own island. Don't you know that game? It's also made by EC.GG.
Oh.
It's like the predecessor of
It's like the prequel. Why am I still on preparing client?
It says
There we
match
go.
starting soon. Hello, this does look like Fortnite, but for kids.
Why? Dude, why is my screen blue? I can't move. I'm in the ocean.
Are you sure?
Oh my
It's still
Jesus.
loading. The
Okay.
game is still... Oh, hello, Chu. I'm behind you.
Oh my
You're gonna
Jesus.
get knifed. You're gonna get knifed. Get fucked,
360 no scope knife.
360 no...
360 knife scope.
I hate this game already. Okay, tab for inventory.
It looks fun.
Map. Where are we dropping, boys?
Are we dropping, boys? Tilted.
There is no tilted, but there's a thing called city. So let's go land there. Space station.
This is so weird. I just instantly, like.
The city is a wasteland. Oh my
They
God.
decided to not
Oh,
add
wait, no,
gliding
it's
because
just-
they're lazy.
Yes. Is this parachuting or gliding? I don't know.
This is
Here, I'm
This
gonna
is
land on this
parachuting.
tire. E.
This is parachuting. I think I've played this before.
I got a shotgun. Let's
I'm
go.
gonna walk.
Yeah. There's nothing here.
Oh
There.
my god!
How do I
Oh
drop?
my god, dude, you jump scared me.
Drop. There. Get the AR.
Thank you.
Oh, there's more loot here.
All of a sudden I'm hypnotized. Can't deny. All I say I'm gonna.
Okay, we're in the safe zone. What's this? Small shield charge. Blah, blah, blah.
I'm at max shield.
Ooh, here you go. Big shield charge. Okay, I'm gonna drink.
Yo, look.
Oh, I'm already max. Okay.
Look, Mitchell, look.
What?
This is G502 magic.
I can hear people shooting, you know. Why should
Oh yeah, we
be
should
not
probably kill
concerned?
them.
What? I thought we should be
I'm not
concerned, not dead.
I'm
Oh,
not
there,
concerned.
there. God damn it, there's no pinging system in this game. Over there, where I'm looking. In the building. Someone's
I'm
probably-
blind, bro. You can't expect me to be like, There,
West,
we
west.
see it. You should
270 west. Where are you looking?
270. Let's go get.
Okay, let's check if there's any campers or not. What's this? Heavy ammo?
If there is, I'm gonna laser them.
I only have a shotgun. Bro. I need a rifle. Oh, here you go. Okay, I'll get loot. Is this glass? Please tell me this. Yeah, stop. Okay.
Oh, okay, good loot, good loot. Good loot up here. I just took it all.
There.
Sorry.
Someone's killing me! Chu! Chu, I'm dead, I'm fucking dead. How are you not helping me? I have one
I didn't
bullet.
see you. I'm sorry.
He's shooting me
I'm
through
gonna
the fucking wall! Why?
Better laser his
Oh,
ass. Hold
behind
on.
me! Ah! Kill him! Oh no! Don't die. You're gonna do it. Okay,
Is
thank
he
you.
hacking?
Revive me, brother! Revive me!
Dude, I'm gonna get sniped.
I don't care. Let's go revive me. Thank you. How do you crouch?
That's mine now.
Hold on. I'm drinking the big shield first.
Big gulp.
I'm also getting a med kit and yeah. And my
I have
shotgun.
one kill. Dude, there's so little people who play this game
Yeah.
that they couldn't even get a full lobby of people. Oh wait,
Where?
that's
Where?
not a wall.
That's a glass, idiot. Where?
Somebody shot through it. I didn't realize they could. What? How?
Got
Dude,
him.
what?
I got him. Wait, there's one more.
This
one
is
more.
so
Wait.
stupid.
There's one more.
Oh my god.
There we go. Where are you?
Dude, I'm
Did you
so
die?
mad.
Did you die?
Yeah.
Oh, fuck. Okay.
It's because dude, this game is so bad. I don't want to play this game. Dude, literally, I shot him like 50 times, but the reload times are so inaccurate. And since I play Fortnite, right, I know what the reload time should be.
Yeah.
The reload times are so inaccurate that it took me like 5 seconds to reload my SMG, and that's how I died.
Yeah. And I can hear more people. How amazing is it?
So mad.
Okay. Wait for me until I die, okay? Just spectate me.
Alright.
I'm gonna try to infiltrate this big tower. Okay, I'm
Big
in a bush.
tower.
I am in a bush. Did you see me?
They can see you.
Oh shit. Okay, never mind.
You should have crouched.
How do you crouch? I'm pressing C. I'm pressing control. There is no crouch.
Shift.
Shit. That's just running.
For a second, I thought you said shit. And I'm like, what?
Shift. As in shifting your gear in the car. Damn it. I don't know.
Oh, I thought you said shit. Honestly.
Oh. To be honest
Call
with you,
me
I
a
have no idea
developer.
where they are. I'm just gonna go to this river or something. Someone died
Mr.
here.
Miguel.
So, oh, I see them. I think they're duo. Are they duo? Oh shit, they're duo. Okay, I have to go. Did they see me?
Bro, you should just laser him, laser him, laser him.
Is the 4 a laser or a shot? Will you die in the waters? No, you won't. Oh shit.
I'm taking back shots.
Yep. Well, GG. I hate you, easy.gg, because you suck. Okay.
Okay, wait, what games do you have on the list?
Stat grinding simulator. No. Do you want to play that?
Mecha Simulator Island. Wait, bro, I can't
Blox
see.
Fruit. Okay, here.
Blox Fruits. Oh my god, I hate.
You hate Blox Fruit. How amazing is that?
Well, I mean, I don't know, but like every time I try to join my friends, it doesn't work. So
How about you try?
I think we could try.
Yeah, let's go, try. I played
I sent
this
you
game.
Vil. Look at chat. Look at chat. I sent Vil.
Okay, fine, here. I'll mod you, but promise me no jokes, okay? Don't troll me again, or else I'll actually remove your mod forever.
Okay. Yay. Yay. Mod view.
Okay, I'll be pirates.
Oh wait, there's a mod view? Did they just add this or something?
No, it's probably part of the game before. Okay, how do you play this game again? I forgot.
Oh, there's a mod view on Twitch.
Mod view.
Oh, this is cool. Yeah, it's like. Oh my god, but I'm not a full-time fucking monitor. Okay, hold on. How do I skip all? Yeah, fuck
Okay,
off.
menu.
Jesus, dude, I've never played this. I've only played this game like once or twice. Dang, how you got a katana? Katana.
I played this game like for what, 1 hour? And then I got to this.
An hour?
Yeah.
Dang, okay.
I'm now gonna go to. It says here recommended quest. Find the NPC at the pirate village. So that's what I'm gonna do. Click to interact. I would like to buy this. I'll just get the free one. I know I am a cheap person, but I have $1,000 in my bag, and now I'm almost dying from the sea, the salt water. I guess I don't know. Can I drive now? There we go. Now we can drive. Where are you, Chu? I'll pick you up or something.
Hold on, wait.
I'm going to Pirate Town to get a new quest. Yeah, your friend Chu has joined the experience, blah blah blah. I think.
Look at chat. Look at chat.
Okay, someone is trying to kill me. 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 And they killed me. Amazing. Amazing.
Bro, you're just chilling there, and they're just, oh my god.
I hate PvP.
Look at your Twitch chat. Okay. It's funny.
I don't like the PvP, sorry. This fucking game sucks at PvP. I mean, it's good when you're actually competing, like, you challenge your friend.
Did you miss chat or something?
I see it. All of a sudden, I'm hypnotized. You're the one I got the life. I don't care about your message.
What's are you? Pirates or Marines?
Pirate. Oh, it's fuck.
Oh, it's fuck me.
It's this guy again. Stop trying to kill me.
Communist
You piece of shit.
developer. I only have my bare knuckle fist. I'm so badass. This can use to be load my ass.
Be pissed.
Never mind. I didn't open this door, you idiot. Come on.
Where are you? Are you at Spawn Island?
Yeah.
The one with what? Yeah, over there where I'm looking. Yeah, hold on.
I want to punch the shit out of a bandit.
Yeah, you should do that. It's part of the quest. Just go and do the quest, okay?
You're trash, kid. I can't teabag on him.
You know he's
Did
an
you know
NPC, right?
Did you know that teabagging is sexual assault? Apparently.
In America.
If that's true.
That's the US law.
If that's true, I am.
What? Teabagging
Can't
a
say that.
woman.
They say that teabagging is sexual assault because I don't know, they're putting their genitals in their face without like.
I mean, your pants is not. Well, I mean,
They're not like. It's just like
it's just like.
It's different if it's Neopets.
Neopets. Why are we talking about Neopets now?
Dude, I don't know. Dude, this game has a fucking lock-on system. I am so overly cracked. It feels like I'm shift locking, but I'm not.
Yes, set my spawn point here. Thank you very much, game. And now for my quest. Yes, my quest. I would like to kill some pirates. Thank you. Yes. So I have a Blox Fruits spike. Then I have a sword that is a katana and a my fist. Ha! My
How do I
fist.
get? How do I buy stuff?
How do you buy stuff? I have no idea. Oh wait, there should be a shop thingy. Wow, that guy died. Just kidding. Oh no, I'm dead. Yeah, that's almost there. So we're fucked. Absolute fuck. Yeah, I'm dead. He's so low health though. Well, time to kill you back. Air slash. Didn't work. White rush! Spirit won't die. Thank you.
I now wield a katana. I now wield a katana.
Very nice, my friend.
I don't just. Katana, fucking fight me, good. I'll shove my fucking katana up your mom's ass. Dingy sloop.
Why you so
What the sloop? Guys, go to spawn and get on my sloop. We are going to get on the sloop.
Yeah, whatever.
Where are you?
Play-Doh! Stupid pirate! You're not the one that I'm looking for. Where is that guy? Did that guy respawn? Because, well, I got it.
Wait, are you fighting bandits?
Pirates. Level 35, bro. You can't be. Oh, there he is. Oh, time to die. Oh, no.
I can't even beat a monkey in the jungle. That's kind of sad.
Why is this? Why you bully me? Why you bully me? Why you bully me? Just kidding.
Me?
No. I'm talking to this guy. There's someone near me. He's trying to punch me.
All of a sudden,
Why you-
I'm hypnotized. I can't decide. Wait, where are you?
I'm in Pirate Island.
Pirate Island? Is that spawn or is that?
That's wait. There's no map in this game, but actually it's far away from Spawn Island.
Where do you go from spawn?
But you get a free boat. Just buy the free boat.
I got the sloop.
Yeah. Is that the free one? Don't waste your
No.
money on. You wasted your money. Amazing.
Yes.
You're stupid in this game, aren't you?
Yes. Now just tell me where you are so we can get the
Over
heck out of here.
here. I'm in Pirate
Over
Island.
what?
Pirate Island. There's a big town. Okay, there should be like a clock tower, big thing.
Clock tower, okay.
There should be. Yeah, it's basically just a town full of pirates.
I see you. Okay, I'm at a town now. Middletown. Never mind.
No, that's the wrong town.
I know. Oh wait, the controls aren't reversed when you go backwards. That's weird.
Where are you?
That's Middletown. Okay.
Middletown.
And then
Are you following the quest or something?
no, I'm just seeing where I'm going.
You
Recommend quest? Suck
Is that
my
you?
ass.
Is that you in the big boat? Is that you coming into me? Yes, you are. Ah! Oh no, we're fucked. We're fucked. Okay, I'm gonna kill you now.
Get in.
I'm gonna kill you now. I'm gonna kill you now. I'm gonna kill you now. I'm gonna
We're
kill
on
you
the
now.
same team.
I don't
Get
care. I'm gonna
in.
kill you now. I'm gonna kill you now.
Just get in. Just get in.
I am in, stupid idiot.
Sit down.
4, 3, 2.
You can't kill me.
Ah! Damn it. Because you're moving, I can't kill you. Why?
You can't. You
Why?
can't anyway.
Stand. Don't move. Bro, I was doing my quest, you know. What you're doing, bro? Why was I in this boat? I'm doing my quest in Pirate Town, and then you just came and forced me out of my own will to come here. And now we're going to Middletown or whatever this thing is.
No, we're not.
Are we going to the monkey jungle again? I don't like the monkey jungle.
Go hang out with the monkeys.
I'm gonna kill you. After you stop, I'm gonna kill you. Absolute nonsense. Stop it! Don't hit him!
Menace to society.
Oh, this is society, bitch.
Menace
Just
to
stop,
society.
Stop. Okay, now I will kill you. Fuck no! Shit! dead.
Holy
Stand
shit,
up,
I'm
stand
sorry.
up, stand up, stand up. Now I kill you. Cannot
Haha,
attack players
bozo.
below level 20. This game sucks. It won't let me kill you. Why?
I'm going to go kill the
I am a
monkeys.
bozo.
Except,
Bro, I'm going back. I'm resetting. I'm going back to Pirate Island. Fuck you, Chu.
no!
You won't get me
I'm
back.
taking my sloob and going back.
No, not your sloop.
Sloob! Why is it named that? Sloob. I sound retarded. Guys, I found it. I am taking the sloob and I am going to this town.
I've never killed a
Sloob.
pirate without dying
The
once.
sloob.
I can see her vote, you know.
Sloob incoming. Sloob incoming.
Oh, this sucks.
Sloob incoming. Sloob. Sloob.
And I killed that pirate.
Sloob. Yeehaw, cowboy. I'm
I'm
here.
not moving to you. I'm not going to go.
Holy shit. I can do a backflip. Wow.
Imagine.
Dude, chill. Chill.
No,
Chill.
you're not. This pirate is literally level 35. I'm level 31.
He can't touch me. He can't touch this. Do 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 do. Can't touch. You think you're funny, huh?
I am funny.
Well, now I have to go fight the monkeys.
Okay,
Get
fight
no,
them.
get out of here.
What level are you? You can't fight the monkeys.
I'm level 8.
Okay, I mean maybe you're enough to kill the monkeys.
Nope.
No?
No, I'm dead. Come here, you asshole. I'm gonna fucking kill you.
I am.
Get out of here. I'm level 9 now. Now I can beat the monkeys. There's none here. Dash, dash, dash. Suck my.
Can I die without dying?
Dingy.
Nope.
My uncle touched my thingy.
Yes, let's go. I beat a pirate without dying once. That's
I'm gonna play Sea of Thieves.
Are you kidding? Did you just leave the game? Yes, you did. Okay. Next game it is.
I'm playing.
Arcade Island X. If the metaverse were a thing, this is what
I'm
you
playing
would
Sea
call it.
of Thieves.
Yeah, I don't fucking check it.
Shut the fuck up, bitch. I'll turn on emote only.
Yeah.
I'll turn on emote only. Don't fucking try me. Fuck.
Bitch, you thought?
Okay,
Got him.
I will tell
Got
everybody you're racist in Devons.
Hey yo, okay, wait, I'll mod you, mod, shoot. Here, how do I restrict mods? Mod permissions, how do I restrict mods? /mod, something.
Okay, I type Miguel, not racist.
Thank you, Chu, you're a good friend. Okay, now to play Arcade Island.
Jack.
Or what you say.
You're good.
What?
I'm playing Sea of Thieves. We sailing with
Sea
the
of
team.
Thieves.
We're
I've been
sailing
streaming
with
for
the
1
team.
hour. Sea of Thieves.
You need to get Sea of Thieves, bro. That'd be fucking epic.
If only I had Xbox Game Pass.
Sea of Thieves, we sailing with the team. We're heading up
Oh, yeah,
north
Arcade
as
Island.
far as the eye can see. We're carefree, we have no need to flee. I hit a skeleton with my
Let's start.
banshee.
There is no such thing as start. Okay. This is the life of being a Twitch streamer. You're not funny. funny. You're creepy when you laugh.
Let's head inside.
that's my retard. That's my retard laugh.
Yeah, you're a retard.
Oh my god.
I'm sorry.
I can't type shit or fuck. Shit. Yes, I can.
Because you're a mod. What if I unmod you?
Okay, sorry. I was just. Okay.
Like,
Yeah. Whatever.
like, never.
Look at all these amazing
Other channels you follow. Oh, there's 2 people live. Sorry,
Is there
gotta go.
Who wants to be a millionaire here? I wanna play Who Wants to Be a
Who
Millionaire.
wants to be a Fortnite millionaire?
That's stupid.
What is Control Plus?
Just
Hey, my name's Major Gaming Pal.
I'm
I
gonna
love
unmod
playing
you all
games
of a
and-
sudden.
Okay. Okay. Sorry. Polling. Can I start a poll?
A poll? Sure. What?
How do you start a poll?
I don't think you can start a poll.
To start a Twitch poll.
You can't.
Don't say you just, please. Man, I'm just looking.
Okay, just look. If it says yes,
Um.
then do it. I don't care. Just please don't be inappropriate, or else I'll unmod you. Okay. Well, we're gonna end that.
Fuck.
We're gonna end game night there. Actually, before we have other segments. Okay, guys. Okay, Chu. We're gonna do a come right back. We're gonna do a commercial break, my